Wake up, wake up. Larry Krueger and Damon Bruce, the day after the 49ers get beat again by the Kansas City Chiefs. I've had it. I've absolutely had it. Join us now.
It's Monday, October 21st, and if Sam's Chowder House has any medicinal, feel better about that terrible loss lobster rolls to serve or cioppino, we could use some today, and I'm sure everyone could use a bowl because, God, that was as disappointing a 49er game I think any 49ers fan has watched in the regular season in years. That was a terrible football game in its design, in its execution, in the way it rolled out. And if there was ever a day you needed to turn to Juwan Jennings to maybe save your bacon, unfortunately, he was unavailable. 49ers defense actually met the match. Unfortunately, the 49ers offense and Kyle Shanahan came up way short. Larry, good morning. You were at the stadium yesterday. It was full of buzz. And then with one of the least impressive first quarters, it felt like the air just got sucked out of that building early. And even though there wasn't a lot of scoreboard separation, you could tell the 49ers are going to be behind the eight ball all day.
It never, let's be totally honest today, it never, ever felt like the 49ers were going to win that game. At no point did it ever feel like they were going to beat the Chiefs. The Niners had a 3-0 lead, but it was 14-6 at halftime Chiefs. It was 14-12 at the end of the third quarter, but even that, why did Shanahan not go for two to try to tie the game? I thought that was kind of a weird decision by him. And then, at the end, it's just like, it's like you can't chip away. There were so many plays in this game that were so frustrating. The D Winters running out of bounds only to watch Mahomes run down the sidelines. That was a tough play to stomach for sure. But, the bottom line on this thing is that, the Niners actually, Purdy had more passing yards than Mahomes. It just Mahomes, and they both threw picks. Mahomes had 2, Purdy had 3. But Mahomes is a master. He's an absolute master. And even though their offense is not perfect, I never bought into, well, the Chiefs are also bad in the red zone, because the Chiefs are awesome in the red zone against the 49ers. That's the thing. Were the Chiefs like 30th in the NFL in touchdown percentage in the red zone? Yeah. But I never gave that stat even one thought. Why? Because I've watched Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes call plays on the goal line and in the red zone against the 49ers, and they score touchdowns. And what happened in this game? The defense did not put nearly enough pressure on Mahomes. That's one. He was only sacked two times. You can't stop the run. Kareem Hunt would carry Niner defenders 4 and 5 yards down the field. They couldn't tackle and stop Kareem Hunt. They did a nice job against Xavier Worthy. They did a nice job against Travis Kelce. He had 4 catches for 17 yards. There's no Juju Smith-Schuster. You have the Chiefs at less than full strength, and you just can't do anything offensively. Nothing. 12 points until garbage time offensively. So, the one thing that we can say for sure is that Spags, the Niners own the Chiefs, but very specifically, Spags owns Shanahan. Yeah,
you said Niners own the Chiefs. I think you meant the other way around, and you're right.
Right. The Chiefs own the Niners, but it's really specifically Spagnuolo owns Shanahan. Totally. And he owned, and they just totally dominated the 49ers. And then when you mix in a 55-yard return, you're not stopping the run. You're down CMC. Then Deebo shows up sick. Then Ayuk gets knocked out with an ACL. There's no there. Kittle said it. It's the fourth quarter. I'm looking around the huddle, and there's no CMC, and there's no JJ, and there's no Ayuk, and there's no Deebo, and it's Ronnie Bell, and it's, Chris Conley, and it's, nothing against those guys, but an entire roster of those guys, it's like,
right. Look,
they lost a lot of their weapons.
Larry, the only benefit of the doubt I'm willing to give the 49ers at all is it's got to be closed to hard. It's hard to close the gap against the best team that is defining the era that we're living in. When you got Ronnie Bell, Chris Connolly, Jacob Cowing, and Ricky Pearsall out there in patterns, it's tough. They were up against it. But before they got up against it, they did so much to win that game in terms of just suppressing Patrick Mahomes. That is the worst passer rating of Patrick Mahomes' career, and the 49ers still can't beat him. It just shows you what matters about moments. You can struggle through a game, but when the moment is there, you have to meet it, and that's where I want to start today's show, Larry. Because, there's a million content creators out there, and there are a bunch of fans, and I see a bunch in the chat that no matter what happens, like whether the Niners win or lose, everyone's like, fire Shanahan, fire Shanahan, fire Shanahan, blah, 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 blah. Criticize him on days where the criticism doesn't really have any merit to it. Today is a day where criticizing Kyle Shanahan does have merit to it. And I'm telling you, Larry, that guy, as a head coach, does not meet the moment. He doesn't do it. Going for a point after touchdown with a third string kicker when a 2-point conversion ties a game against a team that you are dying to beat. It is the biggest chicken shit moment of Kyle Shanahan's career. And instead of going for 2, getting your 2-point conversion, tying the game, you got every single 49er fan and player on that sideline looking at the tips of their cleats, just like, fuck. What a cowardly moment. Seriously, like Kyle Shanahan is great.
Come on,
things.
Dude.
That was a cowardly,
you always go a little too far.
moment. It was a cowardly moment.
No,
it was
not.
when he basically said, "I don't think I can go ahead and stand in
the
the middle of
somebody
with this guy."
You're putting real, Is it a cowardly moment when you went to some guest that you shouldn't have gone to on your show and you had a shitty segment? No, it was a bad decision.
No, it's
a bad decision.
It's a cowardly moment to stay in the bad decision. It was a cowardly moment. It was. He was afraid. He knew he couldn't get
afraid of what?
What?
Afraid
I don't know, Larry, but he can't. He didn't have anything going on in that running game.
It's not about fear, Damon. Come on. It's about decisions.
Look at it this way: if it's not fear,
he made a bad decision. It didn't work out. But calling him a coward over it is way hyperbolic. Come on.
Okay.
Seriously.
Then
he's a coward. Kyle Shanahan's a coward because come on, dude. Come on.
It was a
cowardly
sound
like
moment.
The guy in the 19th row.
No, I'm telling you, man. It's
does that not sound like the guy in the 19th row?
You are trying to breathe confidence into your team. I'm fine
with criticism, but the coward now saying the guy's a coward. I mean, come on, that's just way over the top.
I thought it was a chicken shit pussy coaching decision when you're trying to beat a team for once in your life. You don't try to beat a team. It wasn't the right call. You don't beat a team with paper cuts. You got to land some blows. And it was the man doesn't meet the moment. He doesn't feel the flow of the game. He doesn't feel the importance of a moment. It felt like, he's
been to 2 Super Bowls.
He's too conservative when he needs to be aggressive. He's too aggressive when he needs to be conservative. And the feel that Kyle has for the game in the moment, I think, is a place where the criticism legitimately falls upon him today. I thought in that moment, what moment did you know the Niners weren't going to win the game? That moment right there.
No, for me, I knew at the anthem that they weren't going to win that game. They don't beat this team. They just don't beat this team.
I picked them to lose, Larry. I mean, I told you they were.
I could have wagered on it, but I just didn't wager. If I was going to wager, I would have wagered on the Chiefs. I didn't wager on that game, and I hit 4 or 5 games yesterday, and I just didn't. I left that one out, and I felt stupid driving home because I'm like, I knew the Chiefs were going to beat the Niners, but you know what? I just can't. I can't be doing pre and post and in all the whole thing and sit there and bet against the team. I'm not going to root against the team. I think what we're seeing. It's like everybody's frustrated today. So it's like we can get mad at the micro or we can get mad at the macro, right? And all you're doing is you're getting mad at the micro. And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it's not, and it's legitimate. I'm not saying it's not legitimate. All those criticisms are legitimate. Heck, I made that same criticism on the post game yesterday that he should have gone for 2. I thought it was the wrong call. I won't call him a coward over it, but I hear what you're saying, and I hear the frustration. To me, I take more of a macro view, which is even more damning. They've blown 7 first-round picks on players that are doing 0 for them today. Trey Lance, Javon Kinlaw, Reuben Foster, Solomon Thomas, and Mike McGlinchey. That's 5 players. They invested 7 number 1 draft choices in those 5 fucking guys, and those 5 fucking guys are gone and doing nothing, and you have nothing to show for it. So that to me is the bigger complaint. It's with Shanahan and Lynch because obviously they both have a say in the personnel. You can't get this how long have they even been here? 8 years? You can't blow 7 number 1s in 8 years and still comfortably, run up top with everybody else. No, there's going to be an effect of that. And we're starting to see the effects of that now that their top tier guys are getting hurt, right? I watched that film again last night. The O-line got beat up front. The Niners receivers got no separation for the most part outside of here or there.
They apparently won't be getting that.
They won't. They're slow. It's a slow group of receivers. The receivers are getting no separation. The O-line's getting beat up front. The O-line had a great day against Seattle. We can all, right? We all feel that way. They ran for 228, 0 sacks. The O-line was good last week. This week, they got beat up front. Brock Purdy had a really bad day. 3 turnovers. The Niners went 2 for 10 on third down conversions. I didn't actually go back and see how many of them were actually manageable thirds, but either way, 2 for 10 is unacceptable.
How about the fact that there's no?
And they're leaning on Ronnie Bell, Conley, Pearsall, Kittle, and Juszczyk at the end, as opposed to all their premier weapons. And then I thought it was a very undisciplined game, Damon. Very undisciplined game. And the penalties, the 12 man on the field penalties on defense for the 3rd penalty on a drive. Once again, that shows you're not on top of your game. Sorensen, Staley, Shanahan, you want to point the finger at all those guys, it's all appropriate. 12 guys on the field for your 3rd penalty on a singular drive. Again, in the game of the year, when the rematch of the Super Bowl, you're getting 12 men on the field penalties. There are penalties and there are bad penalties, and to me, that one right there was really, really bad.
I cannot believe that Kyle Shanahan apparently just absolutely refuses to install anything that looks like a hurry up offense.
That is another major complaint.
They
cannot speed it up. They cannot speed it up.
He doesn't know how to meet a moment, Larry. He doesn't have a feel of a football game. And look, I admire Kyle Shanahan more than most.
He's had a lot of success.
Kyle Shanahan more than most. He's had an awful lot of success. He is on track to have the most regular season wins, the most regular season games coached. He's already 3rd all-time playoff wins for the 49ers as a head coach. Kyle Shanahan has an awful lot to be admired, but his feel of the game is maybe the reason why he never wins a Super Bowl if he's one of those guys who does not get it done. He just does not feel the game as it's happening and unfolding in front of him, or he's so on his own script. You know what I would wish? I wish that Kyle Shanahan either, again, this would reduce him to an offensive coordinator, but I love Kyle Shanahan's plays. I wish there were just someone else calling him out, and like this play action that he's doing with Purdy that everyone knows is just like a completely fugazi play action. There is absolutely no biting at it at all. Get your quarterback back under center, run some real play action passes. All this play action trickeration from the shotgun is fooling nobody. Everybody in the league is all over what Kyle does, and it's because everybody has studied Kyle so close. No one in the league is all over what the Tennessee Titans are doing because nobody studies the Tennessee Titans to get better. Kyle gets studied to get better, and everybody knows his tendencies, especially Steve Spagnuolo, as you said, just total ownage, Andy Reid, and Patrick Mahomes, who did not play well yesterday, played well enough in 4 or 5 game-altering plays to be the difference. And that's where it ended up. I mean, to me, again, I could harp on this 2-point conversion the entire fucking show, but I know you don't want to do that. But I could, Larry.
Well, I mean, it was a gaffe for sure. I don't think it was the biggest gaffe. To me, the biggest gaffe was something that nobody's even gonna mention, and that is that when the 49ers were driving down before the last turnover, they were going so slow.
Well, I did mention that. I did.
As far as
offense, let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, that to me is the bigger issue. The lack of any ability to have any kind of a hurry up offense is supersedes. Hey, early in the game they should have gone. I mean, when I'm saying the Niners should have gone for 2, that was early third quarter. That was only the 49ers' 8th total possession. Let's see. It was the beginning. It was the Niners' first possession. It was the Niners' first possession of the second half. So yeah, I mean, that's why it's not criminal. That's why he's not a coward, because it was the early third quarter and he thought there's a lot of football game left. Let's just keep playing. Let's make it 14-13 instead of tying it up. And then of course Carlson misses the PAT. And so it's 14-12. And then it is a kick to the gut because you could have gone for 2 and you didn't go for 2. And then you ultimately got nothing out of it anyway.
How do you not have here's the thing. And we'll talk about Ricky Pearsall in his day. Literally, Ricky Pearsall has been in a non-contact jersey since the day he was drafted. Okay? And so he's working out on the side. And basically, how does Kyle Shanahan not have one single... We get into a situation where we got to go for 2. This is the play I'm running. And Ricky, it's the only thing I've been having you drill for the last 3 months. So you can't really be out there playing. But you've been drilling this fucking one play, Ricky, one play. And we don't have I don't have confidence in a single play I have in my playbook to pick up 2.5 yards for a 2-point conversion. You would
think that they would have something that they've worked on all summer that they could lean on. But I mean, the bigger issue is not that. The bigger issue was after the Cowing deep ball on what, 2nd and 8 from the 49, and he goes up top to Cowing. Now it's 1st and goal from the 10. Okay, it's 1st and goal from the 10. They run JP Mason for 6 yards and then huddle up and then run JP Mason again, and he gets tackled for a loss. And then they huddle up again. And then they're 3rd and goal, and Purdy throws the pick to Hicks.
Pick too. What are you looking at there, Brock?
Both those last 2 were just horrible. Look, I mean, first of all, it's not time to hit the panic button on Purdy. People are just losing their mind. This guy is one of the NFL's better quarterbacks. He's demonstrated it for a period of time now. He's been too good for too long of a period of time to have one game suddenly, oh, you know what? He's not him. But it was the worst game of his career. He did throw 3 interceptions. He did complete just 17 of 31 passes. His accuracy yesterday was all over the place. He threw a couple of dimes for sure, and there were a couple dimes in there. The one that he threw to Ayuk that Ayuk dropped was a total dime. That was another crusher that ended one drive. But 2 of his interceptions were just horrible throws into windows that were not windows. And then when he went up top, when he had the long completion to Kittle, that thing's a touchdown if he leads him. On the long ball to Cowing, that thing's a freaking touchdown if he leads him. He underthrew both those guys. And they were waiting on the football. So it was not a good version of Brock Purdy. And in a game yesterday with no weapons against that defense and Mahomes, you needed a solid B+ to A- Purdy game, and you got a D- F version of Purdy, and so you wound up losing the game.
This is where I go back to that 2-point conversion. Use the data coming back at you. It's a struggle out here today. It is not happening. You are not in rhythm. Looking for the big play really far downfield is getting you more in trouble and behind the sticks than it is behind the Kansas City Chiefs defense. You've got to get in the moment where nothing has gone right up to this point in the game, yet you have a chance to tie it. You have to take that moment. And I just cannot believe when Shanahan passed on that moment, I said he doesn't believe in his own team, and his own team, I think, stops believing in itself in that moment. You got to want to beat the Kansas City Chiefs more than the Kansas City Chiefs want to beat you. And I didn't see that. It was like the Chiefs were the team that was trying to overcome the mountain that they couldn't climb over. And the 49ers were playing the Miami fucking Dolphins. Just
Well, no,
another
you
game.
know what it is that Mahomes is so good and Reed is so good that you can take away, Juju Smith-Schuster. You can take away Isaiah Pacheco. You can have Mahomes throw no touchdowns and 2 picks. He can play less than his perfect game, and they can still win. I mean, bottom line is the Chiefs ran the ball 39 times for 184 yards at 4.7 a carry.
Yeah.
When you have nearly 40 carries and you're still hovering right around 5 yards a carry, and it wasn't like there was a 50-yard run here. Hardman had 1 run for 20. Mahomes had 1 run for 33 yards, which is totally that's kind of his custom, is to have 1 long run. And Kareem Hunt's longest run of the day was 13 yards. And in the midst of that, they still got 184 yards at 4.7 a carry. So, I mean, and then you look around, Kansas City, was their leading receiver Travis Kelce? No, it was Noah Gray. Was their leading rusher or leading receiver from the running back position, Kareem Hunt? No, it was Samaje Perine. So, I mean, they even kept Xavier Worthy under 20 yards. I mean, I thought defending verticals was going to be a major problem, and they went up top trying to get verticals.
Mahomes had a wide open Worthy too at one point. He just missed
him. He overthrew him. He was like, I'm putting this thing out there. I'm not underthrowing it. He's like, he's either getting it or I'm going to overthrow it. But I mean, that's how good Mahomes is. He can win with just Kareem Hunt and Noah Gray and Samaje Perine and no Juju Smith-Schuster and no Pacheco and Kelce doing nothing because their defense is so damn good. I mean, that's a hell of a defense that they have. Justin Reed, Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal, Karlaftis, Chris Jones. I mean, and then they
a better player than I thought he was going to be. He's really good.
He's good. Karlaftis has got a crazy motor. But I mean, even so, the Chiefs had 1 sack all day. 1. Karlaftis had that 1 sack. Other than that, he had 2 hits on the quarterback. They did a decent job of keeping bodies off of Purdy. But then Purdy also, there were some free runners at Purdy and hits that he took, and he tried to release the ball faster, and it burned him. But I mean, once again, what are the constants here? Purdy had a bad day. Okay. The constants are that their defense isn't good enough. They couldn't stop Kansas City in the red zone at all. Kansas City ran consistently right down their throat. I mean, where's their defensive line? Where's their linebackers? Devondre Campbell played a lot, right? He had 4 tackles. D. Winters played more than him, and he also had 4 tackles. So they missed Greenlaw in the worst way. Jair Brown, I thought, had a rough day. The 49ers are not as good as Kansas City. If they played Kansas City 100 times, they'd probably lose 99 times. I mean,
the thing is, not only the 49ers not as good as Kansas City, they're not as good as the 49ers used to be. I mean, this is a team that is on a decline, and you can say, well, that is injury related. It was holdout related, whatever. This team's arrow is not pointed up, and at best it's pointed at the horizon. If we're being realistic, right now it's pointed down. It's not going to be stuck down. There are opportunities, but let me tell you, man. The Dallas Cowboys are desperate as fuck, and they got a week to prepare. And Mike McCarthy, jokes aside, he is not the worst head coach in the league. And if the Dallas Cowboys come in here and win next Sunday night, it is going to be an 4-alarm fire, Larry. It's going to be a 4-alarm fire.
You can't have it.
Then you're going to be looking at a real opportunity where you look after that bye. It is at Tampa Bay, Seattle, at Green Bay, at Buffalo. You're a good 49er team would be lucky to go 3-1 in that stretch. So you're probably going 2-2, and now you're running out of tarmac. I mean, you're running out of landing strip to get this season into the playoffs. So all the mulligans have been used. All the wins that they needed to stack early on in the year, they didn't. And it is play with your hair on fire, and hopefully after, Christian McCaffrey and his bilateral Achilles tendonitis, which is something I never even fucking heard of until he had it. Unless he comes back, if McCaffrey is anything less than the reigning offensive player of the year, this offense is going to have troubles, because now it seems like Brandon Ayuk is probably done for the year. And I don't even know necessarily if that's a bad thing, because Brandon Ayuk has been a total no-show. it is a bad thing. But I'll tell you what's a bad thing: the contract and what he is going to be if he really has a torn ACL. He is not a straight line speedster. He is a cut jitterbug all over the place type of receiver, and that is hard to come back from with an ACL problem.
Oh, it's a fucking nightmare because you just paid a receiver who now is going to be out for the entire year and may never be the player that he was because of the injury.
Damaged goods, and that could go down as one of the worst. Let me ask you, were there enough Tums in the locker room to help Deebo through his tummy ache? Like, I am Mr. I'm so impressed by the tolerance you have for another man's pain. Unless Deebo received medical attention, like had to be hospitalized level sick, why is he not playing in this game? Where was Deebo Samuel? He dressed, he thought he was going to go, but then what? He had grumble belly, he had the trots, he threw up. What is it? What happened?
He was feeling sick. He was feeling sick. Now we're going to question. Are we really going to sit here and question whether he was sick?
No, I believe he was sick. But here's the thing. So if he is sick, send him home. Don't have him dressed. Don't have him on the sideline wearing a towel. If he's sick, get him so far away from the rest of your team that they're not suffering from a game day, I can't play coach illness either. Get him
personally, I thought after that game in Seattle last week that I said it. I said it last week. I said, I don't know what Deebo's status is going to be for next week because he took a ton of big hits. So I don't know. I don't know if it was a combination of injuries and illness, if it was just the illness, if it came on. I don't know. But he couldn't go.
If you ask any team in football, you told any team in football. Like every single wide receiver in the NFL is now a free agent, and any team in football can take the first 10 wide receivers. I don't know if Deebo's been going in the first 10 wide receivers.
He's not.
Any team in the league. He is, here's the thing. You know what Deebo's really got going for him? The nickname Deebo.
Well, no, what he's got going for him is that he is a unique player that has a unique skill set. So if you want his skill set, there's really only 4 or 5 guys in the league that do exactly what he does.
You know what he is?
That's what his thing is.
I got the right nickname for Deebo. Once a month. Because once a month, he'll have a game that makes you go, fuck, this guy's really good. Once a month, once every 4 games, Deebo really impresses you. He does, but he's once a month. Deebo is easier to not find in football games than he is to find in football games far too often for a guy who carries that clout, has a podcast, making that kind of money. I'm sorry. Like, you got underperformers in their big contracts. Bosa, you're one of them. Deebo, you're one of them. Brandon Ayuk, you now wear the T-shirt that says, I got the worst contract on this team. And I don't know if that's going to get better. Look, it's
not about once a month. It's just that he's at this point lost a step. He doesn't have the same agility. He's going to have a lot of us predicted, you run through people and not around them, you're going to have a shortened career. You can do research on every player in the history of the league that's game is run through you and not around you, and the guys who run through you last 3 or 4 years. He's now been in the league a number of years, and doesn't have that agility. The thing about Deebo is that when he's at full tilt, he's not a guy that's easy to tackle. No, but the thing about Deebo is he's only broken 2 tackles coming into yesterday, and obviously yesterday he broke none. But he's only broken 2 tackles on the season. 2 tackles on the season. That's not nearly enough. So he's a shadow of what he used to be. The question is this. If this thing is reaching its they've crested the hill and they're going down. Okay. Can they, are they going to, can they do this? What are they going to do? Because at some point you have to stop adding, and at some point you got to start subtracting. And is it better for the Niners to win against Dallas and still be in the mix and still put more hope into this year when this year looks almost doomed from the start? And now you have no promise of CMC, obviously you're not going to have Ayuk the rest of the way. Deebo is not the player that he used to be. Kittle's 30. Their whole thing is starting to erode. Where does it go from here? Is John Lynch, if they lose to the Cowboys, I mean, if they play the way they played yesterday, next Sunday, they will lose to Dallas because Dallas is desperate. Dallas is absolutely going to roll in here, and they're not going to lay an egg, and they're not going to play a bad game. They're going to play a good game. Now, they don't have Micah Parsons, and they don't have DeMarcus Lawrence, and they're going to be down some guys, and the Niners should run the ball on them, and so on and so forth. And Dallas has no running game, and
Jordan Mason should look like Jordan Mason again.
Yeah, it should be the get right. But you know what? Get right for what? Because guess what? The game after that, I think, is going to be a rude awakening. Yeah. Tampa Bay is scoring tons of points, and they look really, really good. And they've got some very good defensive players as well. So,
look,
that Tampa game looks like more and more like a loss.
Right, it does. But I will also say, like, I'm not going to totally abandon hope in all that I've seen. I remember the shows that I did before today's show, and off of a bye week, I expect Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers to beat anybody. I mean, I have that level of expectation. Let's see if it happens. Tampa Bay, like you said, pretty damn good football team that nobody talks about.
I said it a month ago. I said, hey, look, the old coach used to say to me when we would sit there and he'd be, Larry, let me talk to you, boy.
Give me the voice.
He's like,
I need the voice today.
He's like, Larry, you want to be a personnel guy in this football world? Let me tell you, I'm gonna give you some fucking good advice, boy. And I said, what is it? He goes, you know what? Shit happens fast in this league, and guys come out of nowhere, and guys disappear, and someday you're riding on top, and everybody loves you, and then you're just a big name on the back of a jersey that can't play dead. And he's like, you know what? That happens a lot faster than you think. There's going to be guys in the league that you think are special, and then one day all they're going to have is the jersey that says their name, and they're no longer going to be that player. And he's right. He's absolutely right. And it happens before your eyes. It happens so fast. And we're probably starting to see that right now. We're starting,
NFL,
Kittle's starting to wind it down, and Deebo doesn't have any game, and Ayuk took the money and ran, and now he's out. They just don't have anything. I mean, they've squandered 7 number ones in an 8-year period, and guess what? The roster's a little thin right now,
and that's why
when you got a decision.
And that's why when you got a chance to tie a fucking game against the Kansas City Chiefs in your own home stadium and you're trying to get some momentum back, you go for 2. Cowardly. I'm sticking with the word. You're not talking me out of it.
No, it's fucking chicken shit to call him cowardly, because if he were sitting right here, you would not use it. That's the barometer. You would not sit here and call Kyle Shanahan cowardly to his face if he were sitting here. See, I'm going to go face him up later on this week, and I'm actually going to face him up. We're going to talk face to face, and you can go with that. You should have called him a fucking piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Come on, man. That's not professional. And it's not really professional to take football decision-making and then take that and spin like defining personal characteristics like you're a fucking coward. It's such a 19th
Larry, I'm
rotate.
not a journalist anymore. I'm a content creator. Okay? So I'm going to fucking have my moment. Yeah. It was a chicken shit decision. Okay, I'm not saying.
Come on, this guy says you would ask that question. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't ask that question.
Kyle Shanahan
fully admitted.
Fucked up that moment, full stop. So I wrote this down last night, okay? I wrote this down because, normally when I'm at game finishes, I make some notes. I try to get the notes out of my head. I gather stats and whatnot. And I wrote this down, and I think I got this here, okay? I got this here. I think this is it. Tell me whether or not you agree with that. All is not lost. They're still going to go to the playoffs where anything can happen. But they're no longer in control of their own destiny. The 49ers now need things to happen to win a game more than they just can go out and affect a game and make things happen. They're a playoff team, but their chances of being NFL champions this season, that window isn't even cracked wide open. It is now a sliver, and the window pane is moving in the wrong direction. Is that a fair assessment of where we are? I think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're a championship contender.
Well, first of all, you go to the playoffs if you win your division. Did something happen yesterday that made the Niners not the best team in the division. Who is the best team in the division? Seattle right now. They crushed Seattle in Seattle. They're going to win the division. They're just going to have to venture out on the road, and they're going to have to do it on the road. Same way that Harbaugh's 49ers went to a Green Bay with Kaepernick and had to play in the cold. They went to Atlanta, and they had to win the NFC Championship game in Atlanta. Yeah, if this, I mean, it's not the end of the world. The bottom line is the 49ers last year were the number 1 seed in the NFC. They had Green Bay at home. They had Detroit at home. They played like shit in both those games, and they were lucky to win them. Now, that might be the point in and of itself, right? Which is, hey, those games were at home, and you played like shit, and you still won. You won't play like shit on the road and win. Okay, that's fair. But I would say that they didn't play. I mean, they had it totally lined up, and they didn't play well. They played terrible against Green Bay. They played terrible against Detroit, and they lucked out, and they got to the Super Bowl. So now this year, they're going to have to probably go in as, they'll be a division winner, but they're going to have to play some team, they're going to have to play Tampa and Tampa. They're going to have to play Detroit and Detroit. They're going to have to play whoever, Philly and Philly, Chicago and Chicago, wherever they got to go. Do you look at any place in the NFC and say the 49ers can't win there in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't. Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit.
Oh, I disagree.
Pop into my mind right
49ers
away.
49ers can beat those teams there. You got to remember this, too. Detroit's playing great right now, but teams oftentimes rise to the occasion when they lose a great player for a week, for a couple weeks. There's going to be a lasting impact of losing Aiden Hutchinson. So we'll see. We'll see what Detroit looks like. And right now, the Niners are pretty banged up, but we'll see what those teams look like when they get the time for it. I'm just saying that if you told me that the Niners had to go into Green Bay, could they beat the Packers? I think they can. Can they go into Minnesota? I think that would probably be the toughest place to go into. But, yeah, they can beat Sam Darnold in the playoffs, especially when they have all the experience on their side. So, it's not a good thing. The question is, should they? Should they put more resources into this year, or should they pivot and sell off Mooney and Deebo and a few other guys that they're going to cut anyway? I mean, they're going to pay Purdy a lot of money. They're going to cut some guys. There's rumors in the last week that they're going to trade guys like Deebo and Mooney Ward if they lost. To me, said it in the pregame. This 2-game stretch was a crucial 2-game stretch. If you go 0-2, you go to 3-5 into the bye week, and then it's time to maybe think about where you go from there. You might be a seller if they lose next week. But if they win next week, and I expect them to, do you then become a buyer? When Shanahan was asked about, acquiring other players, he was like, oh, I don't know. You get the feeling like Kyle and John have gone to Jed and the ownership about additions, and they're looking like the ownership is now looking for results, and they're still looking potentially for new additions. And I don't know if the ownership's going to sign off on new additions. I just don't know. I don't know what their mindset is. Do they view it as it's smart to make these acquisitions, or do they look at it as, you know what? No, we've already leveraged too much of our future for the present, and we're not going to do that anymore.
I don't think at any point in time we're going to see this team trade for a wide receiver. They have young wide receivers that they need to do a better job developing right on their team. So I don't think that there is an offensive presence that will be traded for to come and help this team. I'm going to come back to Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick costs you nothing but money to add to your football team. You don't have to give up any future assets, and I would not be giving up future assets, again, with the Purdy situation on the horizon, to try to save this. You can get a little bit better defensively, I think, adding Hassan Reddick, and that only costs you money. So I would go do that. That is
only thing is yesterday at the stadium, a couple people who are very in the know on the players and what they're like say that Hassan Reddick is an absolute nightmare personality, and that they would steer clear of him just on the personality.
I don't care. He's a nightmare on the defensive side of the football field with double-digit sack seasons.
I don't know if he's a fit one. I mean, we don't even know what kind of shape he's in. The last thing you want to do, because if you trade for this guy, it comes with a contract extension. So you got to find out, A, how's he wired? B, what's his body like? There's absolutely no reason to trade for him. He hasn't played at all if it's going to take 5 weeks to get ready. So, I mean, it's like there's lots of things you got to kind of kick tires on there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. You bring him in, you interview him, you see him. If he's 35 pounds overweight and just looks like shit, it's a full no. But if you think you can get something out of him, and we're talking it's a 10-game stretch. You know, I mean, that's what the 49ers got in front of them. That's a 10-game stretch, and anything other than 6-4 means you might miss the postseason.
Well, so, I'm looking at in front of me, and I'm a solution guy, right? I'm all about solutions, and I'm got this 3, Zachary Rotman on FanSided, 3 emergency trades the 49ers can make to keep their Super Bowl dream alive. Well, he got me, right? So I decided I clicked on it.
All right. Gotcha.
He's got DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, who they were discussing yesterday on the postgame show a little bit on mine, and then T. Higgins. So they're talking about veteran receivers. I like some of those ideas, but I don't think that is the solution necessarily to just get a replacement. Now, it depends what your price is. If the price is reasonable, then, and somebody else came up with a list of 10 here. Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd, Tennessee, Kendrick Bourne, Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Tutu Atwell. See, now Tutu Atwell I'm all about. Why? Because the one thing that the Niners don't have on offense, they don't have. Well, I think they could easily make the trade. The Rams are going absolutely nowhere fast, and I mean, we'll see. I mean, teams have made trades within the division often in the NFL. But I mean, that is exactly what the Niners need. They need to use Cowing. They need Atwell. They need some space creation. I mean, if you have Tutu Atwell, they've got to defend you a way that they don't defend you right now. He creates space on the field. See, like, nobody who doesn't watch the All-22 would ever want Tutu Atwell. What's that?
How come
no, not the same. Not
Tutu Atwell.
I'm just saying, if you don't watch the All-22, then you don't see the value of Tutu Atwell. But if you do watch the All-22, you will see the value of Tutu Atwell, because he really does create a lot of space. A lot of space. I mean, this guy's average depth of target is 13.7 yards. That's 11th in the league. So he's 14.4 yards per reception. That's
top 20. You say, the Rams are going nowhere. I don't think that's how the Rams are looking at their season. They're a game behind the Niners. They're 3-4. I mean, they're not, the Rams aren't some.
They were life and death yesterday to beat the Raiders at home. They've got crushing injuries.
And they got the win. I mean,
that's from what I read in the last 72 hours, they're not thinking that way, that they're actually entertaining potential offers for Cooper Kupp and looking to get draft capital. So maybe I'm wrong. But if the Rams decided to sell off some guys, Tutu Atwell would be a really nice piece for the 49ers. You saw what it was like to have vertical speed and Cowing yesterday. Well, think of somebody who's got even more vertical speed. Like Mike Williams, Kendrick Bourne, Hopkins, Boyd. These guys are just guys. Christian Kirk can still run. But I mean, if they're going to add somebody, they got to get somebody who can run. But they also need a linebacker and defensive line help. And, they have other needs besides wide receiver. They're not just a Tutu Atwell away from greatness. But right now, the major problem they have is that their weapons are too slow. So there's no room. Nobody. So they're just being defended inside of a 12-yard box. There's not a lot of room. They need some space creation. And that's what Atwell would give them. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. But if they lose to Dallas, it may be time to go the other way and sell Deebo and sell Mooney and sell some of these guys to other teams and pack it in for the year. And I don't know. I mean, can John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan build this thing back up? Especially now when they just paid Ayuk big money and he's not going to play for them this year. And, they've made some bad decisions. They've wed themselves to some expensive older players.
They're getting older in front of our eyes. The league is getting younger and faster in front of our eyes. And, there is no staying the same in sports. You're getting better, you're getting worse. The argument that the Niners are getting worse right now is an argument that I think is easy to make. And the argument that their coach doesn't get the feel and flow of a game as it's happening, I think is also now easier to make than before. And again, I am Mr. Defend Kyle Shanahan for the most part, but when I'm gonna tell him when he's got a booger hanging out of his nose, and that 2-point conversion, it did not going for it. Just again, it sucked all the life right out of the room, just all of it. How are you not taking this opportunity in a game that you shouldn't even be within shouting distance of to tie it up? It's right here. It's right in front of you. You can get back to even. The score goes back to 0-0 in this moment, or you can still have to chase the tail all day long. And oh, by the way, you ain't equipped to chase the tail because as far as I can tell, you don't have a hurry up offense, which I don't understand that. I do not understand Kyle's refusal to have a second style of play. How does that make you a better football team to play at one pace and one pace only, regardless of situation? Again, do I know more about football than Kyle Shanahan? No, I don't. But I do know that when I'm playing a game of Madden and I'm behind by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you got to fucking go. You got to go. Like, I do know that. It's time to go.
Yeah. And to me, the not going for it on fourth down, okay, fine. The lack of any kind of hurry up is unbelievable. I mean, you can't hurry it up. I mean, they're huddling. They're very deliberate. I mean, it was tough to watch. It was
Larry,
really tough to watch.
I need some zen. Would you take me to Half Moon Bay, please? Would you take me?
We can get down to Half Moon Bay.
A beautiful location for me, please, so I can just have a moment where I just Chipino me, Larry. Chipino me. See, this is what I need. That's what I need. That's what everybody needs. Sam's Chowder House has what you need after a win to celebrate or a loss that you want to go drown your sorrows in and all that delicious Chipino seafood broth. You need to look at that, and you need to remember that, being in the Bay Area is a nice thing to be. Unless you were at Levi Stadium yesterday, in which case it was not a great place to be. Oof. Thank you, Sams. Thank you for all the support. Hit like and subscribe, everyone, both channels. It is a frustrating Monday indeed, and it just feels like the Niners, again, they didn't play the Kansas City Chiefs with urgency. How did the Kansas City Chiefs want to beat the Niners more than the Niners want to beat the Kansas City Chiefs? And Andy Reid is really good at what he does. I mean, he's just really good at what he does. And Patrick Mahomes is a fucking genius. The improvisational plays, that little scamper, the okey doke on the sideline where you said D. Winters totally whiffed, and he did. He's so good. The Kansas City Chiefs are everything the 49ers want to be. Everything you ever wanted out of a football team, the Kansas City Chiefs are. This is the gold standard. This is the standard bearer of football excellence. And even as their offense is, in a depressed season, their defense is more than making up for it. And you cannot evaluate Patrick Mahomes by looking at a box score. You just can't. The numbers do lie on him. They really do. Because when you need 3rd and 18, this motherfucker gets you 3rd and 19. I mean, he gets you now. He just, I don't know how he does it.
But he's a great player.
God damn it.
By the way, here is, we'll share the screen. Kev put this together last night. This is pretty good. It's gotten a lot of play so far.
I didn't know where he was going to come out.
This is me asking. I think it was me.
Oh, is this the Ronnie Bell miss? Look, here's
the Ronnie Bell. This is. Purdy said it was on him.
Right. Purdy's always going to say it's on him. He's never going to throw a teammate under the bus. This to me has got Ronnie
Shanahan
Bell
said it was on him.
Riddle. I don't trust Shanahan at the microphone either.
Second interception was on me again. Ronnie did his job. I thought he just got hemmed up. I didn't know where he was going to come out on his route, so I just tried putting it on him, and then he ended up breaking out pretty good. And so Ronnie did his job. It was on me. The second interception was on me again. Ronnie did his job. I thought he just got hemmed up. I didn't know where he was going to come out on his route, so I just tried putting it on him, and then he ended up breaking out pretty good. And so Ronnie did his job. It was on me.
Yeah.
The second.
There you go. Right, whether it was on him or not. I mean, Shanahan said it was on Purdy. Purdy said it was on. There have been other times where Purdy's been like, hey, man, it was on him.
Here's the deal.
It probably was on Brock. Probably was. I mean, he overshot him, this and that, but whatever. The thing is that why do you even have Ronnie Bell? I mean, what's Ronnie Bell do? I mean, Ronnie Bell, seriously, you got better guys. There's better guys all over the place, and you got Ronnie Bell. I mean, come on. Why? I mean, that makes no sense at all. What does Ronnie Bell do that other guys don't do? He's a total redundant part. He's not a complimentary part. I think there was one positive in this game. The one positive in this game is that in the first half, the Niners spent a lot of time in the base. And they had 3 linebackers on the field, and the Chiefs came out with Noah Gray and Kelsey in their 2 tight end set, and there was a lot of 2 tight ends in the first half. Second half, there was more 3 wides, and the Niners were in their nickel, and it was D. Winters exclusively alongside Fred Warner and not Devondre Campbell. And I just asked, Sorensen last week. I'm like, dude, what's up? I mean, why are you going with Campbell over Winters? He's like, we like them both. Well, obviously, he changed his mind between Wednesday when I asked him that question and Sunday because he obviously didn't like Campbell as much as Winters because he went with Winters the entire second half in the nickel. And it looks like at least, that Winters going to take over that spot full time for Campbell. At least they're making some adjustments on defense. But that was the brief positive of the game. Is that they finally found a way to get Devondre Campbell off the field and go with a younger, faster player. Ironically, that younger, faster player ran right by Mahomes on the sideline, and Mahomes ran down the sideline.
Yeah,
so that was tough to watch.
The longest run of what Mahomes, did I say it was his longest run of his career, longest run of the season? I don't even know anymore. Look, we give lobster rolls every Monday, right? Our lobster roll of the game, mine would go to Malik Mustafa, who, of course, has, an embarrassing moment attached where it looks like he's getting trucked at the goal line. I just think that he was pulling up as Mahomes kept coming forward because Mahomes had already scored the touchdown, and Malik Mustafa is smart enough to not, blow up Patrick Mahomes in a play that's over. But he took the brunt of that, and he looked like he got trucked by Mahomes, and it wasn't a good look. Other than that, Malik Mustafa, I thought, was just a heat-seeking missile in this game. He played really well. He made the only tackles on Kareem Hunt that made Kareem Hunt go, he's
a hitter.
He is. I really like Malik Mustafa, and the fact that you didn't see Xavier Worthy take the lid off over and over and over again means something got figured out in that secondary. I haven't seen the all 22 of this game. But Nick Sorensen, who we've been highly critical of, and Brandon Staley had the day that they needed to have for the 49ers to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It was offensive failure. And tell me if you've heard this one before, Larry. Special teams.
I don't even want to talk that much about special teams other than it was bad again, and Schneider's got to go. And I'm not one of these fire people kind of guys, but it's about personal accountability. When if you want all 53 players in the room to be accountable, if you want all 22 coaches or whatever number of coaches you have to be accountable, they have to be accountable with some repercussions if they're not accountable. You can't have gigantic, colossal fuck ups on special teams each and every week and keep your job. It's not for long. It's NFL, not for long if you don't get it done. He's not getting it done. He's got to go. That's first and foremost. But more than special teams, more than Sorensen, this game was Kyle Shanahan getting outcoached by Spagnuolo. Back to the beginning point. The Niners offense was horrible. Their run game was totally non-existent. Each of the Niners' first 6 offensive drives, 4 plays or less. They did not have a first down. I wrote it down. When they got their first down. That was like they had a first down because of a penalty. But when Purdy on 1st and 20, late in the second quarter on the Niners' 6th possession, threw a crosser to Kittle against Connor for 22 yards. that took the ball on the very second play of the drive from the 20 to the 42. That was the first real San Francisco non-penalty first down of the day.
Yeah.
And that was in the second quarter. That was deep in the second quarter.
Look,
that was almost right before halftime. The Niners only had 7 possessions in the first half. They didn't get their first actual first down off a non-penalty until their 6th drive, and they had 7 in the first half.
Look,
so that's right there. Their offense got fucking dominated.
I think there are some omens that are attached to the Niners are going to struggle today. When they go 3 and out on their first possession of a game, that's just a bad sign right there, because that's when Kyle and this offense is usually at its best. When you see Purdy getting tipped balls at the line of scrimmage, I've said this before, Larry, it's always an ominous sign of something bad is going to happen. And yesterday, Purdy got hit in the back of the helmet with a throw from Brock. It wasn't even a tip ball. Jones was up and doing this, but it threw it off the back of Purdy's helmet. Terrible day for Brock Purdy. But Steve Spagnuolo, you're right, has something to do with it. I thought that this was a pretty interesting graphic that I think it was on NFL Network this morning. So this is among the 13 teams that have faced the 49ers at least 3 times since 2019. Steve Spagnuolo is 4-0 as a defensive coordinator against the 49ers, holding them to 20.8 points per game, which is the best among all qualifying defensive coordinators. 2.5 takeaways per game, which is tops among all defensive coordinators.
In these 4 games, he's 4-0, you said?
Yes. He's 4-0,
2.5 takeaways per game.
Doesn't even allow 3 touchdowns. He's at 20.8 points per game with an opposing third down percentage of 35.6. So you're only converting, just over 1 of every third downs, and the opponent passer rating of 75.1 is the best that any defensive coordinator has put up. He takes the middle of the field away. I mean, I don't know any other way to do. I'm sure a coach could explain it better than that. But he takes the middle of the field where Brock loves to operate away, and he has taken away any success on the line of scrimmage with a defensive line that kicked the 49ers' ass in that first half. Now, eventually, Jordan Mason did crack off some big runs, and that's what Jordan Mason's going to do. The guy's a Mack truck. He gets better, I think, as the game goes along. And he did get better as the game went along. And I think maybe the offensive line even got a little bit better there. But early
I don't know if the offensive line got better. I mean, on the Purdy third interception where he turned it over in the end zone, if you watch that play again, Purdy got absolutely detonated on by some rusher off the Karlaftis, who had beaten McKivitz in a one-on-one situation. So Karlaftis beats McKivitz, and he's in the lap of Purdy, and Purdy throws an interception where it was really nobody was open. The 2 defenders were right there, but he felt like he had to let it go because he had Karlaftis bearing down on him because McKivitz missed the block. So that's a big part of it right there. The Niners offensive line didn't do a good enough job against this Chief front. I mean, Kansas City's defense dominated the game. I mean, the Niners had 6 points at halftime at home. In a beautiful weather day. It wasn't like it was, oh my God, it was 45-mile-an-hour winds. No. Perfect weather day on the West Coast at home, and your offense produced 6 points in the first half. So I don't want to hear about special teams. I don't want to hear about Sorensen. I don't want to hear about anything else. That's it right there. Shanahan and Purdy and the Niner offense got taken down by Spags again.
You know what you talk about, learn your lessons going forward, right? What can you take from today? Because you can't change today. You can't, go back in time and replay today. But what did you learn today, and how will you take it forward with you?
Well,
I want the Niners to learn that you need a hurry-up offense. I want the Niners to learn that you need to play the feel of the game. Fuck your analytics. You needed your 2-point conversion there. You didn't go for it. It would have been better to fail going for 2 than kick the point after touchdown. It was just a suck the soul out of your team level of decision right there. The other thing that I think the Niners need to have emblazoned on their brain is to quit fucking around in the offseason, making sure that players are, if you got a player that you think is going to be important to next year, you get him signed, you get him in, no more missing training camp. Or if the guy is going to be a holdout, you fucking trade him and get somebody in here who's going to be ready to go week 1. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, and I was on Team Ayuk. You were too, Larry. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't say sign Brandon Ayuk, give him the money. But what a mistake it was. I was totally on Team Ayuk, and he has now a chance to go down as one of the worst contracts that this team has ever handed out to a single player, depending on how he comes back from this injury. I feel like the 49ers had some instincts to walk away, but they didn't. And I was saying, don't walk away. So I can't say that I saw this coming. But Brandon Ayuk is a shell of himself, and I believe he is a shell of himself because he didn't have any training camp. Trent Williams isn't who he used to be, and he still is not because he didn't have any training camp. And Trent, you cannot throw the second punch in a fight, dude. You're a veteran. You know that. What the fuck are you doing, man? I know you got punked, but you can't stand up. At this point, you're just trying to win a football game. You don't need to prove your manhood. You're Trent Williams.
But I mean, come on, man. If somebody punches you in the head, you're going to fight back.
The second punch draws the flag, Larry. Every time.
He doesn't care about the flag. He just doesn't want to get punched in the head without punching back.
All right. Well, absolutely.
At that point, I don't know. At that point, who gives a shit?
Make sure you defend your own ego and don't do the right thing for the football team. That's great advice.
Well, it is, because it's like, you know what? At that point, maybe his ego mattered more than the team. At that point, well, that was so late. The game was done by then. I don't look at that as a problem.
The 49ers can opt out of Brandon Ayuk's contract after the 3-year, $76 million standpoint. And you got to think that they might already be starting to count down the days to where they can do that. That's how ineffective he's been. He has been so objectively ineffective this season that getting him off the field right now, it honestly doesn't even sound like a bad idea. If you're telling me for the rest of this year, every round
until you see Ronnie Bell
run. Well, no, I mean, let it be Juwan Jennings. Let it be Ricky Pearsall. Let it be Jacob Cowing. I would rather lose.
Well, that was the other thing. I mean, everybody loves Ricky Pearsall, but did Ricky Pearsall played a lot? What impact did he make?
Not much.
Not much.
I mean, it's also his first day on the football field. I'm not going to hold this is who he is.
Granted, but once again, it's another first-round draft choice, and it's week whatever, and it's he was out there. He didn't get a whole lot done. So, yeah, I mean, people are like, oh, Krug, you questioned his toughness. Well, he's got plenty of toughness as a person, but there's a big difference between toughness as a person and toughness as a player. He's going to get hit hard in the middle of the field consistently, and we'll see if he can stand up to it. I have my questions about that.
Ricky, Jacob Cowing, Juwan Jennings, all these snaps are yours now, guys. Go do something with them. All these snaps are yours. Every single Brandon Ayuk snap we had is now going to be divvied up among you three guys. Good luck. The same word in Japanese for problem is opportunity. So you guys all have an opportunity, and if you don't take advantage of it, the 49ers are going nowhere. So
if Ronnie Bell or Ricky Pearsall or Jacob Cowing don't become Brandon Ayuk, I mean, what are the odds of that? I mean, that doesn't sound too good. The bottom line on this thing is the Niners defense yesterday created 3 big turnovers, and the Niners didn't take advantage. The Niners scored 7 points off of the 3 turnovers that the Niners were able to create. Where you look at Kansas City, the Niners, through 3 interceptions, they scored touchdowns on, after each of the last 2 interceptions that the Niners threw. So, I mean, it was a clinic. Kansas City had 14 points in the first half, but what was the time of possession?
Dominated.
Yeah, they had dominated the time of possession. 1847 to 11 and change in the first half. So, I mean, the 49ers couldn't get off the field on defense. They gave up another big back-breaking play on special teams. But the real criticism belongs for the offense because, once again, you're at home, sunny West Coast day. You don't have all your weapons, but so what? You're at home, and you couldn't do anything. It was an ugly offensive performance. It truly was. I mean, that I kind of wish the Niners didn't score that late touchdown because it just kind of makes the game look closer than it actually was.
Yep.
Really wasn't that close of a game.
No. I mean,
they're 0-5 against Mahomes, and they haven't beaten Kansas City since 2014. So, it's like that's just the way it is. The Chiefs are the better team. The Chiefs have a better organization right now. The Chiefs are on top.
And that's why when you get a chance to tie a game that you're really not even in, you have to take it. And that's why I do think that I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan is challenged in a fight and he would walk away and run home crying to his mama level coward. I thought that was a football cowardly decision to not go 4-2 with your bet, whatever you got, Kyle, however deep your playbook is. You got to have something in there, right? Something in there that's going to work. And instead of looking for that something that was going to work, he turned to an off the street signed on Thursday kicker. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I'm very pro Shanahan, but he lost me a little in that moment. He did. He lost me a little in that moment. And, I think this guy has shown time and time again, he does not meet the moment. He doesn't feel the way the game is playing, and he just keeps on doing things that are going to
once again, how stupid that sounds, because this guy has won multiple NFC championship games. So did he meet?
Then you get to
the moment those days.
Yeah, he
did. He meet the moment against Green Bay? Did he meet the moment against Detroit? Did he meet the moment on his other playoff wins? I mean, Kyle Shanahan's got a really good playoff record.
He kind of met the moment in some of those other games. Yes, he has. But the moment when it's really there, that not the NFC Championship game moment, but Super Bowls. And yesterday, obviously it wasn't a Super Bowl, but it kind of was your mid-season Super Bowl right in the middle here. You got to, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I thought that Kyle played the Kansas City Chiefs like they were the Miami Dolphins. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that at all.
To me, what's so disappointing is that, this defense was supposed to be, this is where they had put so much into their defense, and they just, if you really think about it, they knew going into this offseason that Dre Greenlaw was not going to play until December. And yet the only thing they did was add Devondre Campbell, Tatum Bethune deep in the draft. Where's your linebacker in the first round? Where's your linebacker in the second round? Where's your investment in some defensive badass? And instead you lose Dre Greenlaw, and you're like, we won't get him back until December, but we'll be fine. Why would you think you're going to be fine? He's an awesome player. And I just thought, like, the Niners, 184 yards on the ground to Kareem fucking Hunt. Kareem Hunt wasn't even in the NFL 3 weeks ago. Their defensive line is so disappointing. So disappointing. It's amazing, really.
Well, they don't have, we are in charge of this football game level talent, performance, whatever you want to call it. The Niners now need the other team to make a mistake as much as they're just capable of forcing that other team to make mistakes, I think, to get through some games, especially against better opponents. I think the Niners can still do very, very well on the low-hanging fruit in this league. They can step up to the middleweights, but they got heavyweight problems. And the heaviest heavyweight of them all didn't even play well yesterday. And the Niners couldn't beat him at home. Didn't even play well off. It's the worst day Patrick Mahomes has ever had in terms of passer rating. But he was good enough in 4
Look what he didn't have, though. He didn't have anybody. Rashee Rice out for the year. Pacheco's out. Juju Smith-Schuster's out. And yet still Mahomes can take secondary players and make it happen. I'll tell you the other frustrating thing is that, they fired Steve Wilkes after the Super Bowl. They gave up 19 points in the Super Bowl in regulation, 25 points total, if you include the overtime. Sorensen's defense yesterday gave up 28 points to the Chiefs without Rice, without Pacheco, without Smith-Schuster. So, you know what I mean? Did they make the right decision by getting rid of Wilkes? And I mean, and it's like, did they really think Wilkes was the problem? That they could just switch Wilkes and not add any linebackers or add any badass defensive players up front, and they would just be the same defense? I mean, it's just they were going to be improved just going from Wilkes to Sorensen. That's it. I don't know.
Yeah, the continuity that you were looking for that you said Steve Wilkes didn't add might have been found if you had kept Steve Wilkes around and let him, be in year 2 rather than have Nick Sorensen in year 1. But look, yeah, I mean, yesterday to me, the defense did its job for the most part of the day. It really did.
Except for the fact that they got pushed around and couldn't stop the run. See, here's the other thing too. It's like I was on the binoculars watching from the upper deck. Kalia Davis gives them some movement ability, and he had an interception, right? He knocked a ball out of the air, and he it was an incredible play by Kalia. But he just gets pushed around in the run game. So if you have him inside, he's just they can just push him around in the run game and run effectively at the point, and that's what happens.
He is Javon Hargrave with a better paycheck. I mean, better in terms of it. He doesn't cost as much, but he's basically Javon Hargrave. Plays the pass well, easily pushed around in the run game. So I tell you what, I see that we have like 30 super chats here, Larry. I mean, we got a lot of people who want to get in here with what they have to say in this game. So why don't we have a lot?
We should probably throw a little Sam's Chowderhouse love. There you go.
Love you, Sam's. Love you, Sam's. Thanks so much for supporting this show. Make sure you're making plans to get down to Sam's sometime. If you don't make it down there in October, make sure you make it down in November, because the next couple of weeks, that Highway 1, it starts to fill up a little bit with all your pumpkin patching and all that stuff. But get yourself to Half Moon Bay and get yourself to Sam's for the best lunch in California that you could ever have. Great dinner spot. It's perfect. So there you go. Look at it this way. Sam's Chowder House definitely has a no-huddle offense.
Look at Sean Turner. Sean Turner, what an unhappy, what a miserable fuck. Get this fucking seafood off my screen.
All right.
I almost feel like blocking his ass. Seriously. Fuck you. Deleting your asshole comment. But one more comment like that, Sean, and you're done.
Look at it this way. You can tell Larry
I'm joking, Larry. Chill out. No, shut the fuck up, idiot. Yeah. How about that?
You can tell Larry and I to go fuck off. Don't you say a word about that lobster roll.
Yeah.
We will defend.
You badmouth my sponsors, and I kick your fucking ass out of my chat. Maybe you should just leave anyway.
Circle the wagons.
All right, here we go. Don't piss me off. Okay, here we go. We got this one from JD. He says, Larry, Damon, does anyone even deserve a dinner roll of the week? Yeah. Do we have Damon gave his to Malik Mustafa. I would second that.
Larry?
Let alone a lobster roll of the week. Maybe you can cut it into quarters this week.
How about this? He gets lobster rolls, no chips. No chips on the side. You'd only get the roll.
Chips. No chips for you. David E. says, Purdy was awful. Career questioning bad. Do you really want to pay this guy $50 million?
How about this? It doesn't matter what you do or
David, that's such a cheap shot. I'm going to wait until you step in shit and be like, is David really effective at all? He just stepped in shit. This is the part of the public that just gets so nauseating. So the guy yesterday literally had better stats coming into yesterday than Patrick Mahomes. You had people on ESPN saying that the Chiefs coaches think Purdy's the MVP of the league. He literally had better stats across the board than Mahomes in like 7 different categories. But he has a bad game, and now you're questioning his career.
Here's the deal. He's going to make $50 million a year because that's what starting NFL cornerbacks now make. That is just going rate. That's the price of a Toyota Camry, folks. That's the sticker price. That's what it is. Okay.
Hey, asshole, who do you want instead? Who do you want to go? Who do you want to go with?
You're calling me the asshole.
No, I'm saying to this guy, it's like, okay, so Purdy sucks. Get rid of him. I question him. Okay, go for it. Once again, you're dumping Shanahan for who? You're dumping Purdy for who? Josh Dobbs?
I would
Brandon Allen, because those are your choices now.
I would say, though, after watching what you did watch yesterday, maybe you can bring Purdy in under that $60 million price point. Is he really the level of talent that should reset the entire quarterback market? If he does, it's going to be because of his timing.
Either way, he's going to make a shit ton. And it's not, yes, I agree. Should you have to pay him at the top of the scale? Probably not. But either way, you're going to pay him so much money that you're going to have to make huge roster altering decisions. David E says Mahomes also made plays to win. Purdy did not. Oh, thank you.
Again, to evaluate Patrick Mahomes based on a box score alone is to completely misunderstand what happened yesterday. Everything
this just in, Mahomes is better than Purdy. Yeah. Dale says this team has no identity. They are flat, defeated, boring, and slow. The NFL has caught up to them. Hell, they're not even a team right now. They are some guys that play well and everyone else. I do think they're flat. I do think they seem defeated, and I do think they're boring, and I do think they're slow. So I think Dale kind of hit it on a lot of those right there. Fuji Simeon, do you think Kyle is overextended and maybe needs to delegate play calling, i.e. get a run game or a pass game coordinator to help design play calls?
I think both you and I have said that he's got too much on his plate and has been carrying too much of a workload, and it's wearing on him. And I don't think Kyle has smiled in 18 to 24 months around his football team. He ain't having any fun at all. Being
it's interesting.
Head coach of the 49ers.
I mean, when Harbaugh was here, he had Brad Seeley. Seeley helped him make a lot of the decisions that he made on the sideline in real time. The Niners will come back and say, hey, we have Brian Hampton up in the booth from football operations on the headset, talking directly to Kyle, consulting with Kyle about this and that. And so they say they have it covered, but is it working well? That's the question I would have. Is it working well? That's the one thing. I know you have a guy, but do you have the right guy? Do you have a guy that Kyle respects implicitly and that his suggestion will be heeded, or do you just have another guy who with some youth and enthusiasm on the line? I don't know. I don't want to be critical of anybody without knowing their contribution, but to say that they don't have anybody is incorrect. They do have somebody, but is Kyle listening to that guy? I don't know. Blood Moon, to the content creators, not Larry Bruce, bashing Trent for retaliating. Don't be pussies. People bitch and moan about passion, but hate the response. You think Trent will take that while down? Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, it's like, I don't blame Draymond Green for pushing LeBron James off of him when he stepped over him in the finals. That was a reciprocal response to that action. And Trent had a reciprocal response to that action. So I'm not blaming Trent. Well, I hear what you're saying, though. In a team sport, you got to sometimes bite your lip.
Had Draymond been able to swallow his reciprocal action, there'd be another banner hanging in the fucking arena. But
to me, once again, I mean, I play pickup basketball, or I don't do it anymore, but I played a lot of pickup basketball, a bunch of different public parks. What LeBron did to Draymond will start a fight every time, every single time. Artificial. Look at that. It's like a Lucky Lager cap. Kyle wants wins on his terms instead of wins.
Did you see when Andy Reid had success with that end around? He ran it like 4 times in a row. He just this is working. I'm going to keep going to it. When does Kyle find something that works and then keeps on going to it?
Yeah, Harbaugh did that quite a bit. Oli Kayao.
Campbell off the field. That's what got Devondre Campbell off the field. So thank you, Andy Reid, for that.
Yeah. Going no huddle would be amazing. D would be gassed. Yeah. The Niners went no huddle. But you got to have a speed up. You got to be able to speed it up. And they don't show any ability at all to speed it up at all. I mean, literally none. They played tempo in the early days of Shanahan, but when I asked him about it over the last couple of years, he's like, yeah, in the early days, we played a lot of tempo. It's almost as if he was saying, before we had good enough players, we would use things like tempo. But now we have good enough players. Now we have no need for it. And I just think that's short-sighted. I think there's always a good time to introduce tempo.
Well, and there's also, and that's the thing. The best time is when your time is running out. I would always suggest that as time were descending and your chances of winning were shrinking, you should play faster. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, and go back and watch what we're talking about. The Niners wasted 2.5 minutes after they got down to the 10-yard line. They still wasted another 2.5 minutes before Purdy threw the interception. Tobin Ernst says no huddle. No huddle? Have the 49ers thrown a screen pass all year? Yeah, I mean, where's the Niners screen passes? I mean, if they're so fucking hard to defend for the Niners, maybe it would be kind of hard to defend for, I don't know, the opposition.
Well, and Niners screen passes usually go to Deebo, and they sniff those out because they know Deebo's not separating downfield, so those screen passes don't go anywhere. I think they threw one yesterday to Cowing, and that got gobbled up really quickly too. But yeah, it's the screens to Kyle Juszczyk is full of nobody.
But I mean, here's the thing. When I went through the numbers going into that game, the numbers showed that Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill had horrible numbers trying to play pass defense against running backs. And yet, did the Niners get any running back isolated on Bolton and Tranquill down the seam and try to make a pass play? I didn't remember seeing it if they did. And that to me seemed like something that had to be in the game plan. The get rid of Brock haters, go see how Miami's doing. Yeah. Treeman, McCool, Jackson. 49ers need a monster 6'3" plus wide receiver so Brock can hit him high like he does with Kittle. Maybe it's T. Higgins. Maybe they need T. Higgins. Big Dad 52. What happened to all of Kyle's misdirection plays and screens? Everything is shotgun and hoping and praying that the receivers get open. No creativity. I don't understand why a team that has a quarterback who's number one in the league off play action is now put him in the shotgun, not under center. They don't do the play action game at all for the most part. They're 32nd in the NFL in play action pass snaps, and they've become a downfield passing game out of the gun.
They're a downfield passing game that doesn't have downfield receivers.
Right. So, I don't get it. Right now, Greg Cosell brought this up doing the breakdown going into this game. He's like, the Niners are no longer the Shanahan team from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago where they ran the ball and play action passed off of it. Now it's much more of a downfield passing attack with Purdy in the gun. And I mean, is it better? I mean, I'd like to know why they went to this. Why did they go away when you have the number one play action passer in the league? You would think you would run play action.
And the play action that he does run out of the shotgun has nobody biting on any of its action. None of it. No one is worried about.
They're running play action before they establish success in the run game. So nobody's going to go for a play action fake if you haven't proven that you can run the football. James Foster says, Damon, the 49ers can't score in the low red zone. Why does that justify going for a 2-point conversion?
Because he
just wanted. I agree that they should have gone for the 2-point conversion. I just don't think that you should call Shanahan a coward over it. And it was early in the game where it was kind of one of those 50-50. Like there were many possessions left, so it wasn't like if that had been in the fourth quarter, I think he goes for 2. But in the third quarter, he opted not to.
I thought it was a chicken shit decision, and I thought it was the best way to make sure that your own team knows that you don't believe in them in any singular moment today, and we're going to need to cobble together luck more than to be able to go and create our own destiny. I think it might also go to the idea that we're talking about that maybe he needs some help, because in reality, what I saw there, and I don't know that this is what was going on, but this is what I think I took away from that, is that Kyle was spending so much time in his play sheet trying desperately to get the score that he hadn't gone through his 2-point conversion plays and decided, or gone through his, he hadn't decided exactly did he want to go for a 2-point conversion. I feel like he made that decision on the fly. And if you're going to make that decision on the fly, you're probably going to go with the more conservative. We'll kick the extra point. On his laminated Waffle House menu, you got to have a little corner there where it just says 2-point conversions. And this is what we're going to fucking run. Should I need one? And it shouldn't take that long.
Don't you think that probably was the case, that he was it's an argument for he needs more help, because maybe while he was in his play sheet going through that. Maybe there should have been somebody who was going through the 2-point play options in between the last half dozen plays.
I hear what you're saying.
Kyle's to at least, have a play maybe.
Where I don't even think he needs the play sheet. Like Kyle knows every single fucking thing he wants to do in his own head. All he does is think about football. He never thinks about. Do you think he actually needs to look at the play sheet to find the play to run? I mean,
there's so little time between plays, though. If he hadn't thought of what play he wanted to run at the 2-point for a 2-point conversion there, and he just started thinking about it right then, he probably didn't want to waste a timeout. So that's what I'm saying. If you have more help, maybe that gets discussed. I don't know. Maybe we're discussing something that he has all the help he needs, and he didn't make the right calls. But it seems like he should have gone for 2 there, and to not was a little surprising. KR says 100% agree. Kyle should have gone for 2 instead of being happy to trail by 1. Then the kicker missed. Oh my God, confidence shook. RP. Who's RP? Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall looked lost. Wide receiver equals 0. Give Ricky some time. You got to give Ricky a little bit of time. Fuji Simeon says, "What is the game play? What is the gameplay path forward with the special teams and Schneider?"
Apparently, the path forward is make a huge mistake every single week and just allow it because there's no accountability. I've been saying Schneider should have been fired since week 3.
Well, I mean, and for Shanahan to come out and say, I don't want to win games on special teams, I just don't want to lose them on special teams, kind of already shows his mindset about how he views special teams. And I think that could be why their special teams are not great, because he's not viewing it as important enough.
I would totally agree with that. I mean,
and Schneider, I don't want to fire Schneider because I like Schneider, but guess what? If you don't fire Schneider, there's no accountability. You have to fire Schneider because there's no accountability. You're failing consistently in the same area, and you're not going to do anything about it. That's not good. Beats and Meats says if Brock didn't keep underthrowing those deep balls, they'd have 2 extra touchdowns, and Ayuk would still have a functioning knee. The Ayuk one was really ugly. He just looked like he took a hit on the knee, but then it was an ACL.
I thought the whole thing, Larry, was just him out of breath. I thought he just got crushed.
I thought so too until he tried to walk off the field. Did you see him try to walk off the field? As soon as he started where he could not walk off the field, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
This is structural. John Montoya says, I think you can trade Trent Williams to a contender for a 2nd-round pick. If we lose next week, we definitely need to sell. I would agree. I would sell everything and anything. I really would.
If you
Michael
lose to
Carroll.
Cowboys, so let me just get this straight.
You lose to Dallas. Trent, Deebo, Mooney, Dobbs, Ambry. There's probably 5 guys right there that I would take draft pick compensation for and get down the road.
Okay.
Which would be a very emotional thing for a lot of people.
I don't think they got the guts to do it.
I don't either.
I don't think they got the guts to do it.
But they need to do it, because if you're going to throw as much money as they're throwing at Brock, likely this offseason, how are you going to get better? The only way you're going to get better is if you can go and do something in the draft, right? And the only way you're going to have a real good draft is if you can get some extra capital. Michael Carroll says, I'm over being disappointed by the Niners' performance. This game was downright just embarrassing. I've lost faith in this year. I think a lot of people have.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have lost faith in this year. KR says Mahomes leveled Mustafa.
Not
shocking.
Look, there are some times where you just got to look at things and you're like, man, it's your year. Or there's a whole bunch of things that tell you it ain't your year. There is an overwhelming amount of evidence that even with a good second half after the bye week, it ain't the Niners' year.
Here's the thing about that. I know what you're saying, and I agree. But last year wasn't the Chiefs' year, and they won the Super Bowl. There were some years that the New York Giants weren't great, and somehow they find a way to win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl. I think the 49ers, I agree. It's not the 49ers' year. It feels like there's a lot of adversity. But if you say to me, do I think they could go to the Super Bowl? I do, because I don't like any of these teams in the NFC. I really don't. So I think the Niners could beat any of the contenders in the NFC. I really do. Now, today they don't look good, but they have to get McCaffrey back, and things have to happen. But I think the Niners ought to, if they lose to Dallas, I think they got to sell. But if they beat Dallas, I think they got to buy. I think they got to buy, and I think they got to get into a little bit more of a go for it mode this year. I think I'm putting a lot on this game. KR says Mahomes leveled Mustafa. It was shocking. That was the whole game in a nutshell. Overreaction Monday is hot. Good luck at the facility today, Krug. I won't be at the facility today, but we'll have the Kyle Shanahan presser, and we'll react to that. And then I'll be on Niners Nightly tonight at 6 on CanBR. Actually, tonight it's going to be on YouTube only, on the CanBR YouTube only. The rest of the week will be on the radio. Fuji Simeon says, side note, how was the media
on tonight? Giants aren't in the World Series. What's preventing you from going on the air?
They carry Monday night. They carry Monday Night Football, and tonight's a doubleheader. I think is tonight a doubleheader, Monday night doubleheader. I think there's a Monday night doubleheader, and they want to have both broadcasts. Maybe I'm not really sure, but I'll be on YouTube tonight. How was the media food? It was incredible yesterday. It was a omelet bar, and then it was mashed potatoes with what's that super soft meat that breaks up really easy? What's it called? That meat that it's beef, but you cook it a long time, and you don't need a knife. It's just like a fork. You can just kind of break it apart.
Pot roast?
No, kind of like pot roast, but it's like in that same family. Not brisket. What is it when the meat just breaks apart really soft?
Pulled pork or something like a
yes, but beef.
Okay.
What is soft beef that breaks apart really easy? They cook it in wine usually. You know what I'm saying? Short rib. They had a short rib with mashed potatoes that was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, yeah, it was good. It was a good day for food at the facility, though I probably ate too much at the stadium. Fuji Simeon, IU 7-0, Damon. Thoughts on IU quarterback injury and IU's chances?
What a shame that with College Game Day coming to Bloomington, we're not going to be at our best. But look, Trace Jackson Davis's younger brother is the backup quarterback, and he came in and he played pretty well. I got no complaints at all about 7-0.
Is he like 6'8" or something?
He's a tall kid. Yeah, he's like 6'4", 6'5". He's not quite Trace level tall, but he's a big kid.
Dude, who's that kid Kamara for Indiana? Is it a defensive end or a receiver maybe? They got a guy named Kamara that's supposedly really good.
Well, I'm telling you, Elijah Surratt is the name that you got to keep watching for. Elijah Surratt is an NFL wide receiver. Is his brother played for Carolina? Is it Surratt? Surratt? Yes. I don't know if that's his brother though. I don't know.
I think it might be his brother who played for Carolina. Super athletic.
Yeah, there's no one on a football field who's unathletic, Larry.
LG says, "Hey Krug, why don't Sorensen play D Winters? Why won't Sorensen play D Winters? I'm sick of Devondre Campbell. Also, our wide receivers are not making plays and can't get separation." Yeah, he did. He did finally yesterday, LJ. He likes them both. I'm not sure why, but he played Winters. Michael Carroll says, Damon, watched some of your live. It was fire. That said, still going to Pig and a Peckle on the 3rd. Oh, hey, look at that.
Hey, support Larry.
Are you sure you don't want to move your meet and greet from the Dubliner to Pig and a Pickle?
Larry, here's the thing. If we didn't have childcare as an element of the arrangement, we would have. I would have, because I wanted to come and support you the way that you've come and supported me at my events. I really did.
Pig and a Pickle will babysit for you. We'll bring Jack and Ozzy. I'll bring a babysitter. You want to? Is that what you need? Is you need just a babysitter? I'll bring a babysitter. I'll get a babysitter right there in Corte Madera. There's a bunch of Marin Catholic girls walking around. We can find a babysitter for those cute little guys.
Thank you very, very much. Now, look, I hope you have a great event. We're going to be doing it at the Dubliner. Look at it this way: if you're on the north side of the Golden Gate Bridge, go see Larry. If you're on the south side of the Golden Gate Bridge, hopefully you'll come to the Dubliner. I hate that we have competing events. We do have competing events, but we didn't know anything about it. I mean, there's no one to blame because we didn't communicate to each other what we were doing. We just kind of both came up with it, and it was the bye week, so whatever. But hey, you know what? If you go to Damon's, fine. If you come to mine, fine. If you go to Damon's for a couple hours and then come to mine for a couple hours, that might be a little what they call compromise. Bar crawl, road trip.
Yeah, there you go. Bar crawl. Sean Shepard says Shanahan can't beat good defensive coordinators. How many times do we have to watch Kyle Levy? Come on. He can't scheme the pass game, period. His run here needs to end. Wow.
I don't think
Wow.
it's quite there, but how about this? It's more trending in that direction than it is seeing the Super Bowl, everybody.
Wow. What I would say is, I know Grant's been talking endlessly about Ben Johnson. But what happens if, I don't know, Ben Johnson says to the Niners what he said to the Commanders, which is, nah. Then what? Then you fired Shanahan, and it's what, back to the Tom Sula, Chip Kelly category. I mean, I could be convinced to move on from Shanahan if you had a phenomenal combo that you were going to. If you said, you know what, I'm getting rid of Lynch, I'm getting rid of Shanahan, and I'm going to whatever, Eric DaCosta, or some incredible GM, and he's going to pick some amazing coach. If I can be convinced, but just saying dump Shanahan doesn't convince me. I need more than that. Sean Shepard, just because a coach can't build something doesn't mean he can't drive it. He played scared in these games and can't scheme when things are taken away. Fuji Simeon says 49ers
way too conservative when he needs to be aggressive, and he gets way too aggressive when he needs to be conservative, and he doesn't have any accountability for his special teams, and he just is. The fact that he doesn't have a hurry up offense is indefensible.
Yeah, no, you got to have a hurry up. You got to have some form of a hurry up. Fuji Simeon says 49ers lose, Dodgers going to the World Series, and I had to depressingly watch Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez say how happy they are to have signed with the team. Oh, great. Yeah, go Yankees. Ray Rogers, lifelong 49er fan, playing the Chiefs almost feels like playing the Legion of Boom, just can't win. Does Kyle get fired if they don't make the playoffs? Don't make the playoffs. First of all, I don't think Kyle's going to get fired. I just don't. I don't think he's going to get fired if they miss the playoffs. I don't think he's going to get fired, period.
It's not the year, but next year would be the, okay, seats officially getting warm.
Yeah, no question.
Thank you, Ray.
But if they don't make the playoffs, I'll say this. There'll be a lot of unhappy people in 49er land, especially with the money they spent. Matthew Rowley says, serious, honest question. Is this offensive system Kyle's or Mike Shanahan's? Is Kyle an offensive genius, or did his dad just teach him a system and now he can't make the adjustments necessary to it? I don't think they're running the exact same system the outside stretch's run game, you could say, is very much Mike Shanahan. But I think there's been enough alterations from what Shanahan did with the Niners, at least in the 90s, to what Shanahan's doing now.
Kyle Shanahan used to have a group of targets that ran in more wide open space than I've ever seen. Like, I used to do this segment with Kolsky on the radio where I called him, untouched touchdowns. How many times was there an untouched touchdown scored by the 49ers? And just a couple of years ago, you got like one a game. At the end of the year, you had about 20-ish totally untouched, undefended touchdowns. And if that was a level of X's and O's acumen that he no longer has, I guess that would be a problem. What I think the problem is, though, is the guys who used to be untouched are now a lot touchable because they ain't as fast as they used to be.
It's a person to me. Now, granted, I look at things personnel-wise, full stop, full admission, right? But I see personnel issues. You know, I see a defensive line that doesn't really have enough to protect the young secondary. I see a second level that has an older Fred Warner, and the young guys aren't ready, and Greenlaw's hurt. And then offensively, I see an offensive line that has been, neglected, and receivers that are slow. I think it's personnel related. Sean Shepard says, no, Krug, LOL. He didn't meet the moment. We won both playoff games by flukes last year. We were outclassed both games, but we get there. No, that's bullshit. You don't win anything by flukes. Who do you think called all those goddamn plays? Shanahan. Who do you think, come on. You can't sit there and say, oh, well, we beat Detroit. We beat Green Bay. It was a fluke. Come on. That's a fluke. A fluke. Come on. That's crazy talk. You can't say that you're not going to credit the guy for winning playoff games, but you're going to then blame them for losing games that are important. So you're blaming Shanahan for losing yesterday, but you're not crediting him for beating Green Bay and Detroit. Come on. That's not logical.
I will take all the fluky NFC title game wins that you can sell me right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Anything. Jordan Pena. Hey, Larry, are you going to hold back? Larry. Hey, Larry, are you going to hold Brock accountable for this loss, or are you giving him a pass? Oh, come on, man. I hold everybody accountable for everything. It's just holding somebody accountable means that you can understand that they didn't play well and state that they didn't play well and need to play better. But if you're going to pivot off of, yesterday he's this quarterback that, had all these strengths and was amazing. And after one game against the Chiefs, now I'm going to throw him out and be like, he sucks. No, I'm not going to throw him out and say he sucks. But I am going to absolutely. I mean, I've already said it 5 times. He was really bad. That was that was the worst game of his career.
Without a doubt.
That was worse than the Christmas thing against the Ravens, in my opinion. Andre Hanna says most likely buyers or sellers at the deadline. Can I tell you Sunday at 4?
No. You're gonna have to tell me Sunday at 8 p.m. because that's the Sunday night game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Can I tell you Sunday at 8 or 9? Obi-Wan. It's surprising some don't think Kyle Shanahan should be on the hot seat. Despite success, he hasn't proven he can adapt and win a Super Bowl. Then why not seek change? Because what are we talking about? We're talking about a guy who has gotten in the Super Bowl twice in the last few years, and we're talking about a guy who's been in the NFC Championship game, which is the Final Four. Okay, so we give coaches all kinds of, in college hoop, he went to 3 Final Fours. Well, okay, that just happens to be an event, right? So that's not winning a championship. How come in college basketball you're celebrated for going to the Final Four?
Because there's 384 teams that you're whittling through. There's 32.
No, there's only 65 teams in the tournament.
No, but to make it into the tournament, there's like 300.
But I mean, a lot of those teams didn't have any chance to begin with. But I'm just saying, it's like it's okay in college hoop to be like, hey, man, we made it to the Final Four. But in reality, Kyle Shanahan has made it to the Final Four in football like almost every year.
No, here's the thing. You also
5 or 6.
You also pat a college kid on his back for doing a really good job more than you pat professionals on their back. It's just so. And the Final Four is awesome. The Final Four is better than the actual final for the most part. It's just a great night. You want to be in it. So,
but once again, the hot seat. Okay, the hot seat would be like, hey, man, this guy's been the head coach here and it's not happening. This guy's been to multiple Super Bowls. He's had a measure of success. He hasn't proven he can adapt and win a Super Bowl. They haven't won a Super Bowl yet, but I mean, the same guy who's going for 3 in a row this year was chased out of Philadelphia for, I don't know, kind of the same damn reason. Was that the smart move? Would it be smart? If I told you that Kyle Shanahan was going to go to another team and win 3 Super Bowls, would you still want to get rid of him right now? Ask yourself that question. We got this one from Michael. Why doesn't Kyle call screens, jet sweeps anymore?
Good question. Don't know.
Yeah. We don't see a lot of jet sweeps. Ryan Crowley. See you Wednesday, Krug. Grant's an idiot. Idolizes Reed, rips Kyle. They are the same exact coach. Without Spags, Reed and Mahomes have 0 Super Bowls. I do think Purdy needs to go the Brady route money-wise. That means Brady took a little less and gave some back, I think. I do think that if he can, he probably should take a little less. JP says no lobster rolls given, just sugar-free juice boxes. That's good. Dale says, does Brock need CMC to be good? Fair question. I don't think he needs CMC to be good, but CMC is a great player. And if you take away a great player, you're going to feel the effects. Simple as that. CMC is a valuable player, and he can make a lot of quarterbacks look a whole lot better than they are. William Carter says we have become what the Redskins were under Daniel Schneider. No,
that's insane. That's absurd.
What?
That's absurd. That's absurd.
Come on.
Just move on. Thanks for the $5.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. Heather Taylor. I feel like you can tell after the first 2 offensive series if the 49ers will win or not because Kyle doesn't adjust. Frustrating as hell to watch. What do you think of that?
Well, look, Kyle is at his best in those first 2 series. So if the Niners aren't clicking early on, if they're going to click it all today is a legitimate question to ask. So I'm sort of on board with what Heather's laying down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like she's kind of saying something that we've all kind of witnessed. Gizmo Maltese says, injury or not, Ayuk wasn't worth the money. No doubt. No doubt. If you could do that again, we all would not pay Ayuk. I think that's Heather says, is there anything to be made of the conversation between Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan that Cohn and Lombardi had different takes on? I felt it had to be coaching. So I was in the, I was not standing right there when Brock was talking to Shanahan, but Shanahan will oftentimes after games go to the locker of the quarterback, pull up a chair, and just go through a number of things in that game.
That's wins and losses.
Yeah, wins and losses. I didn't see the conversation, so I couldn't say. Was he poking Brock in the chest with his finger? Did it get loud? Was it just like, hey, you know what? On that last play, what did you see? I didn't see the second defender.
There were an awful lot of journalists in that locker room. Only one is trying to turn it into a battle royale. Everyone else just says there was a conversation. So do with that piece of information what you will.
I didn't see what Lombardi said about it at all.
So they talked.
Yeah, I mean, but as I said, I've been in there many, many times, and Kyle will oftentimes bring over a folding chair, sit down at Brock's locker, have a piece of paper out, and they're going through notes and comparing notes on the game. Sometimes after a win, in this case after a loss. But I didn't see it, so I can't really say, was it contentious? Was it the same as usual or something far different? Grant did ask Kyle about it, or Grant did ask Brock about it, and Brock was like, yeah, we just went over some of the play sheets and some of the calls and some of the things that we're going to do going forward. And I'm sure Kyle, it's top of mind, and I'm sure it wasn't a pleasant conversation, but was it like, threatening? Probably not. Tobin Ernst's loss of assistant coaches catching up with Kyle. Maybe on defense. I mean, they've had some good defensive coordinators through the years, and now, they have Sorensen and Staley. I don't know. It's possible. He's got a lot of his hand-picked coaches on offense, but he has lost some guys. Kurtz says, Ayuk update? No, not yet. We'll find out
today, but it's got not good written all over it.
Yeah, it sounds like an ACL done for the year. Beats and meats. No, if Brock Purdy didn't underthrow Kittle on the deep pass, he would have scored a touchdown, and Ayuk never would have happened later in the drive. Okay. We can play that what-if game for sure. Greg RJZ says, no one has balls to ask Kyle why he won't fire the special team coordinator. It's not about balls. Come on. I mean, seriously, do you really think that takes balls to sit there and be like, hey, Kyle, why won't you fire the special team coordinator? If anything, that just sounds argumentative. It sounds like you have some kind of personal vendetta against the special teams coordinator. At the end of the day, what's that going to do? I'm not saying that he shouldn't do it. I think he should. But this, why won't you fire this guy? I mean, God, that's such a low-grade question.
The question would be, Kyle, why do you continue to allow a third of your football team to underperform week in, week out?
If it was me, Damon, I would ask it this way. I would say, Kyle, your special teams have consistently produced negative plays that are hurting your chances of winning these games. At what point do you just say, you know what, enough is enough, and we need to make a change? That's how I would probably phrase that. And essentially, it's the same question, right?
Right.
But you're not saying
one comes with a level of tact and admission that you're actually talking about people,
right?
Not pieces of furniture that you say, well, this table's wobbly, throw it out.
Right. Exactly. You have to have some humanity to you, otherwise you're going to get destroyed. The regular Ryan says, everyone standing in a circle watching the ball spinning after barely being tapped for an onside kick was a perfect image for this dog shit season. Yeah, I know. Seriously. I thought that too as I was sitting there. At that point, I was cutting my video, recapping the entire game. Big Tone says, Tutu Atwell 4.39, Cowing 4.38. Yeah, that's a 40 time. Wait until Tutu Atwell, you can look at it. Tutu Atwell, according to the reports coming out of Louisville, ran in the 4.2s. He's much, much faster than Jacob Cowing, even though Cowing's number was a tick faster. Tutu's way faster. Steven Draper says, Kyle waiting on CMC to save his call sheet. Shaking my head.
Well, look, Christian McCaffrey is a level of talent that's going to make any coach that's, deploying him look smarter. He really is.
Totally. KR says Mahomes had his longest run ever, courtesy of San Francisco. Oh, I know.
Yep.
I mean, Mahomes can do no wrong. Iceman 0072. Why is the media afraid to ask Kyle hard questions? Go ahead, Iceman. I ask Kyle hard questions all the time. Go ahead. What's your hard question? Man, that's just kind of a weak way. First of all, you don't even have a question mark. So under your question. So it's not even really a question. But I'd love to know what your question would be.
Get your question mark right, yeah. Iceman.
Where'd you go, Reardon? What kind of you don't use a question mark? Greg RJZ says, how is it you go 5-0 in Super Bowls, now 0-3 or 0-2 with Kyle? Yeah, Harbaugh got that one. They're hard to win, man. They're hard to win. And they haven't played well enough. Just simple as that. Damien says, here you go, $4.99.
Boom. Thank you.
Maitland says, close only matters in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Don't be fooled. That game wasn't close.
Yeah, that game was not close. Sean Shepard. Krug, the face mask bounce grab to Ayuk is schemed. Am I reading that right?
You read that right. I don't understand what the question
face mask is. Bounce grab to Ayuk is schemed.
I'm
not sure.
I don't sprechen Sie Deutsch. I'm sorry. But Sean, thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Blood Moon says Grant's narrative is getting old. His tweet made it look worse and sound extreme. Lombardi tweeted out the response is mutual. Those two need to fight. Jeez. Boxing fan ×4. Does Banani have it in him? That's short for banana hands. That's what they like to call him. Does Banani have it in him to make the tough decisions to move on from important players, and how long before some free agents start making business decisions? I don't think the players are going to not play hard because they're free agents to be. This isn't, this is not other sports, baseball, or whatever. This is,
look at it.
Guys are bringing it. Guys are bringing
it. Any criticism you want to throw at Kyle Shanahan today is going to land with some level of accuracy. It was a disappointing day, but Kyle has never once put a team out on a field that just straight up dogged it. Never. I have not seen that. We've seen Chase.
His teams play. His teams show up.
His teams play.
Yeah, they fire. Luis Madera says Cowing is a game-changing playmaker. Well, you know what? He's got 4.3 speed, and they need it. They need 4.3 speed.
Is that it?
People making predictions on who would win a fight. Come on. Seriously. The last thing you want to see is guys who can't fight. That's the last thing you want to see. All right. That's going to do it for us. All I would say is these are tough days. The day after a loss, it's a tough time, right? But after a loss like this to a team like Kansas City, and, it's really, really, it's a tough thing to get beyond for sure. And there's blame. And it's okay to have blame. It's okay to blame Kyle Shanahan. It's okay to blame Brock Purdy. It's okay to say the Niners weren't good enough. It's okay to say they've blown 7 first-round picks. I would say that is the bigger issue to me. Blowing 7 first-round picks in an 8-year run is probably the number one reason if they have to tear this thing down and they don't win the championship. What will be the number one reason? That's the number one reason. You went literally 0-for-7 in the first round of the draft. That's where you get your foundation piece players. Where do you think Trent McDuffie came from for Kansas City? Where do you think Xavier Worthy came from? These guys were first-round draft choices. You can't fuck up your first-round draft choices consistently without feeling the brunt of it. And the Niners have screwed up so many, and now they're feeling the brunt of it. And they don't have that depth that they would normally have. Could you imagine if they had just gone, I don't know, instead of 0-for-7, How about 3 for 7? If they had 3 more first-round players on their team contributing right now, would the Niners be better? Yeah, they would be a whole lot better. So I would say that's my biggest complaint. And that is over years, and that's, and as far as is Shanahan the right guy to tear this thing down and build it back up? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. Boogie 11 says, if an Avenger gets injured during the game, Kyle will basically say won't adjust. Damian says, I believe the blueprint is out on how to beat the 49ers offense. Play man and blitz. If McCaffrey doesn't come back this year, do you believe Kyle and Brock can overcome it? I think the 49ers can make the playoffs without CMC.
What I think we're looking at is a playoff team. I don't think we're looking at an eventual champion. Please prove me wrong.
And as far as, I don't know if it's about Kyle that the Niners can't win against man coverage. Kyle is not running the route. Kyle is not gaining the separation or not gaining the separation. Their problems are personnel related. Now, he's had a hand in the personnel, so you can blame him. But I think that it is a way to beat the Niners is you man them up, you send pressure at the quarterback, you try to disrupt the rhythm as much as you can, but you also have to take away the run game. And if you can do all those things, yeah, you're going to bother Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan and the Niner offense for sure.
Larry, I got a show here. I know you got a few more super chats. Got to go through. Got to blow through these, man.
What trade would you make right now? I would try to get Jacksonville to give me Darnell Savage and Devin Lloyd, and I would try to improve my defense. Because Quesadilla says trade for a linebacker or a defensive end. I mean, I think both. Really, you need both. Come on Friday says Miami and Tennessee get 2 out of 4. Call Miami and Tennessee get 2 out of 4. Linebacker, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line. Wow, I doubt they'll be able to do all that. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in to Wake Up. Go out there and be a football guy. You know what I'm saying?